really like going on this self-healing and self-love journey, I want to be my highest self. So I have to recognize what I want and how am I going to get there. And number one, it's being true to myself.
All right, everybody, welcome back to this week's episode of It Takes Grit with me, your host, Rebecca Louise. And today in the studio on our amazing podcast, we have got Andrea Sager, who helps entrepreneurs navigate legal side of business. And you guys know that I talk to you until I'm blue in the face about legal stuff. So today you're actually going to take some advice from Andrea because she is an expert. Andrea, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to do this.
Yes. Oh my goodness. You have no idea how many times I tell my audience and my team, guys, you got to get legal advice. You got to get things set up properly. Like, it is so important. So those of you who are out there who are listening, you know who I'm talking to. I'm talking directly to you, and you've got to listen to this whole podcast today. So first of all, we get started all the time with sharing your story. Like, who were you before you got started on this journey? Why are you here right now? And what grit did you need to get to where you are?
Yeah, so I am serial entrepreneur, all things business. But when I was in college going to law school, I started my first business. Not that I wasn't busy enough, but I started my first business, which was a retail clothing store. We were online, then we branched out to a brick and mortar store. And I loved it, but I just knew like, okay, this isn't my future. This is not for me long term. So in law school, I actually got like the big job, the big firm job right out of law school, making over 6 figures, like had I was living the dream. Well, I started the job, and I remember the first week sitting in my office and just having this realization, like, all these old white men in 3-piece suits, like they've been here since they were my age. And the first week I had this realization, I was like, damn, like I'm stuck. Like I'm not, like, the first week I knew it wasn't for me, because I didn't want to sit in a chair at a desk for the next 30, 40 years of my life. Like I was like, I don't want to do that. But I was there, I was making good money, like, 38th floor, like super posh office, like dream life on the outside. I was married. I had an 8-month-old son at the time. Like things looked great, but quite frankly, I was miserable as could be. And with that other business that I constantly had potential clients coming to me. They were all small businesses. They were boutique owners wanting help with trademarks, copyrights, like you name it, all the small business issues, they were coming to me. And I thought, oh my gosh, like I'm a rock star here. Like I'm bringing in clients as a brand new attorney. No, they didn't want the small business clients. They literally told me to my face, we do not want small business clients. They're not quality. They're not quality clients. And when this partner told me that, that was really my moment. Like, I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, like we have our moment where we just know, like, this is not it. Like there's something bigger and better out there for me. And that was the moment for me. And I just knew, like, I think I'm going to have clients, and somebody has to be out there to serve these small businesses. So why not me? So I was planning my exit from the firm. And it was a Wednesday. My husband and I at the time, we put our house for sale because we were in Cincinnati at the time. We were planning on moving to Houston, where my family was. It was a Wednesday. I texted him. I was like, I can't take it anymore. Like, I'm ready to quit. And he convinced me to stay. He was like, just wait until we have a contract on the house and then you can quit. I was like, okay, fair enough. Like, we can do that. That was a Wednesday. Friday, they come into my office, my boss and her boss, they came into my office and fired me. And it was a blessing because I got a severance package. So literally days away from quitting, and then I get fired and get offered this nice severance package to just give me a little more cushion to move to Houston and get started with the firm. And at the time when I got fired, nobody had even looked at our house. So we're kind of freaking out, like, okay, great. Like, we have this extra money to hold us over, but we don't know how long it could be. Literally, like a few days later, a cash offer came in on our house. And we were like, holy shit, like, this is how you know when you're on the right path. So literally within a week, everything had been done. 2 weeks later, we were in Houston and started over. And since the day that I got fired, I started my firm. Immediately, I had clients. And I would love to say that it's been all, rosy ever since. But last year, I decided to leave the marriage, and now we have 2 kids. So been navigating that, but it's been fine. And I mean, we had our first $1 million year last year, which was amazing. And we're coming up on our 3-year anniversary. So for 3 years, I've been able to help small businesses, which has honestly just been like my passion. Like, I realized this is my passion, working with those individuals that otherwise wouldn't be able to get the legal help that they need. So that's my little story wrapped up in a nutshell.
Oh my goodness, I love it. And I think that's the thing, is that everyone wants like these big firms, these big companies, but where you can actually really make so much difference is those people who are maybe starting out or got those small businesses going on. So, and we need people like you, because the language that's out there, that people really try and confuse you. App developers do it and legal people do it. They try to give you this jargon that you're like, but you know that I don't understand what that means, right? And they almost do it on purpose because, you don't want to know. So what I love about you is that you break everything down to making it super simple. So when somebody first opens a business, how important is it to number one, have an LLC or an S Corp, and how important is it, number two, to have somebody else do your taxes that can actually know what they're doing?
Yes, such good questions. And you'll get, I'm sure everybody listening has asked the question in a Facebook group or seen somebody ask it in a Facebook group, and there's a million different answers from a million different people. And a lot of accountants will actually give a different answer about the LLC stuff than me. But as the attorney who's looking at your overall liability picture, I think you should be an LLC as soon as possible, because the whole purpose of an LLC, which is a limited liability company, is to limit your liability as an individual. So when you're a sole proprietor, you and your business are one and the same. So if you do something in your business that causes you to get sued, they can come after your personal assets, your house, your car, anything you own personally. But once you file that LLC, everything is separate. And if you do something in your business that causes you to get sued, they can't come after you personally. If you do something personally that causes you to get sued, they can't come after your business. Everything remains separate. And you'll hear people say, oh, just, wait till you're making this much money, nobody's going to sue you over this. Well, guess what? Let's say today you start your business and you accidentally do something that causes you to get sued. But you're absolutely right. You're not making any money. They don't want to sue you because they're not going to get anything. And then tomorrow you're like, oh, I should probably file an LLC. So you're an LLC. Well, guess what? A year from now, you're making millions, and then they decide to sue you in a year from now. Well, guess what? You were not an LLC at the time the act happened, so they can still come after your personal assets. So that is why I think you need to be an LLC as soon as possible. Number one, you never know what's going to happen. And number two, we all hope that we're making millions. We all hope that we can grow and scale and make a lot more money. So why not add that extra layer of protection? Because you're not doing things on purpose to break the law. It all happens. I'm sure somebody out there is, but for the most part, what you do that causes you to get sued is going to be an accident. And even though you're not making money now, in a year from now, they can still sue you. And if you're making money, they can still come after it.
What's important too is that you says that, somebody might not sue you right now. They might sue you in a year's time when you do have the money. Because a lot of people are like, well, I don't have any money right now. What's the point in protecting myself? Well, if your goal is to actually improve your business and grow, you are going to be making money. And then that's when they can come after you as well. So yeah, that's super, super important. And what does an LLC or S Corp or those corporations, what does that do for your taxes as well? Because it's also beneficiary for you to have it set up to save money on your taxes.
Yes. So once you file the LLC, you get that liability protection, and then there's definitely tax benefits. But when you file your taxes, you're actually still filing a Schedule C on your taxes, which is the same thing that you file as a sole proprietor. Then when you're making enough money, and this is the conversation that you need to have with your accountant, but once you're making enough money to pay yourself a profit, and then you have money on top, or pay yourself a W-2 salary, then you have profit on top, that's when you want to make the S Corp election. The S Corp is not actually an entity, it's a tax filing status. So when you're an LLC, there's really not, there are tax benefits, but there's not changes to your tax return as far as how you file. Once you make the S Corp election, that's when you have those changes and you can get a lot more benefits tax wise. But you always want to have that conversation with your accountant to determine how much money do I need to be making in order to make that S Corp election. Because in order to be an S Corp, you have to pay yourself a W-2 salary, and it's a reasonable salary, which is dependent on a million different factors. And then if you have profit on top, that can be distributed to you and save on self-employment taxes.
Yeah, so I have an S Corp, so I also pay myself each month, but it helps too because then some of the money automatically goes out to pay for my taxes. So at the end of the year, I'm not like hit with this huge bill and I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't even realize like I needed to pay this as well.
Exactly.
So
And
basically,
you don't have to be an LLC to make the S Corp election. But you have to be either an LLC or a corporation, so a C Corp. Either one of those, and then you make the S Corp election.
got it. So first of all, you start with an LLC, and then when your accountant kind of feels that you're ready, you will change it to an S Corp.
Exactly. Yep.
Amazing. Perfect. All right. Well, that's cleared some stuff up for me as well. All right. So what is the most common mistake that people make when it comes to legal or things that they miss or they don't know about?
So there's two big things. Number one is copyright infringement, which the most common way to commit copyright infringement for entrepreneurs is using photos that don't belong to you. And I see this happen all the time. Every single day, somebody comes to me like, hey, I got this cease and desist letter. I use this photo, even if and again, it was years ago. They use this photo. All the time it's like, oh, I had it on this blog post that I forgot I even had. But, they sent me the cease and desist letter, and yeah, they can actually sue you and get money for it. So if you didn't take the photo, or if you don't have a proper license to use the photo, and a license is just permission. So get permission. If those things don't exist, then don't use the photo, because then it's copyright infringement. Doesn't matter if you find it on Google, Pinterest, wherever. It is copyright infringement if you did not take the picture or if you don't have a proper license to use the photo. So copyright infringement, number one way to get in trouble as a small business owner. And then number two is trademark infringement, which is using a business name that is already in use. And so with trademarks, it's not just the same exact name that's infringement. It's anything similar enough where consumers are likely to be confused. And that's what trips people up, because you're excited about business, you're looking up all the names, and you're like, oh, I want to name my business ABC. Well, okay, so if there's an ABC, okay, I probably shouldn't use ABC. I'll just change it to the ABC company. That's trademark infringement. And possibly if it's ABD instead of ABC, it could still be trademark infringement. So don't just think, oh, I can make it plural, or I can add the to it, or a little word here, or take out a word there. It could still be trademark infringement if consumers are likely to be confused.
That's exactly what happened to me. So I had the app called Burn, and I had the app for about, I would say like 2.5 years. And then we were trying to trademark Burn by Rebecca Louise. And there's an app called The Daily Burn who already have that trademark. And they were like, nope, not using it. So when everyone was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you've changed the name, blah, 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 I was like, oh, we had to change the name. So, but you know what? I tried to not be attached to the name and be more attached to like what we were actually doing.
Right.
And the thing is, it's difficult now because so many things are already taken. I mean, we had to literally come up with an acronym, BTES, so that nobody could copy it or it wasn't already out there. Like, that's why we had to really come up with something that was super unique. So it's a crazy world. Back to the copyright. What about if people are using like quotes on people's Instagrams? Like, how does that work? Maybe not necessarily on blog posts or websites, but what about using other people's photos from Instagram?
So great question. Couple of avenues to go down there. So number one, let's say you like somebody's photo on Instagram and you want to put it on your page. If you regram it using the Regram app, that's okay. If you share it to stories, that's okay, because Instagram says it's okay in their terms of service. Now, if you screenshot the photo and post it as your own, that's copyright infringement, even if you give credit. Giving credit does not relieve you of copyright infringement. It may relieve you of plagiarism, but not copyright infringement. Now, if you find somebody that posted this really catchy quote and it went viral for them, you're like, oh, I want to use that. Well, the Copyright Office specifically states short quotes are not protected with a copyright. Now, if they have this cute little graphic and there's a design component to it, that design may be protected with a copyright. So if you then also screenshot it, repost it, that could still be trademark or copyright infringement. If it's just words, not copyright infringement. So you could take those words, make a graphic of your own, and that's not copyright infringement, because short quotes cannot be protected with a copyright.
Right. That's really interesting. Now, that's good to know, because I'm sure though it happens all the time on Instagram.
All the time.
I mean, you
All the
can't.
time.
How can you even control that?
Well, and so there's DMCA takedowns, which is basically a copyright takedown. You can just Google Instagram DMCA takedown. It'll take you to their reporting form. That's how you can quickly get rid of copyright infringements. So if somebody's stealing your photos, file a DMCA takedown. Now, with your Instagram captions, like a long form caption, that's probably not a short quote. That is something that can be protected. And I see that all the time too. People come to me like, this person just like copy and pasted my long form Instagram caption, and that's copyright infringement. So you can submit a DMCA takedown for that. So short quotes, like if it's like a caption that's like, oh, loving the sunshine out here, like emoji, that's not copyright infringement. But if it's, you know what I'm talking about, your long form caption, like a mini blog post, totally protected with a copyright.
Right. Wow. It's so crazy. It's a full-time job for you. It's a full-time job for people in that industry. So
Yes.
tell me, because you do legal stuff a little bit differently. You have a membership, like you've created something that's very unique to what you do. So can you describe to us your business model and what kind of people that you help?
Yeah, so we definitely do one-off services. I like to say we're a full service firm for small businesses. So whatever a small business needs, we can pretty much help you. Well, when I started my firm, we were mainly doing copyright filings, trademark filings, and I had people like still wanting to ask questions, but it wasn't part of the engagement. And I'm not one of those people that wants to bill you for every minute that I'm like reading your email thing, because that's what attorneys do. If you send your attorney an email, they're going to charge you for reading that email, thinking about how to respond to you, and then actually responding to you. And I'm like, number one, I'm too lazy to do that. Like, I don't want to sit here. Like, that takes time to think, like, to bill you for all that. So I was trying to come up with ways to figure out how to not do that, but obviously still get compensated, because a lot of these emails are like 2 5-minute emails. And I don't want to bill for that, but at the same time, all those add up. So I came up with a membership, and it's basically a legal membership. You get all access to me and my firm. All your emails are included. You get one phone call per month with me and the team. You also get 10 pages of document review a month. So if you are signing a new contract and you're like, can you like any red flags here? What look out for? That's totally part of the membership. And then you also get access to our contract vault, which is super valuable. A lot of small business owners just want the vault. That has 100 contract templates. You can download, use them as you please. And really how the best way it works is to download what you need, edit it yourself, and then send it to us for document review. And then we tell you yay or nay, or tell you what to fix. And then you also get 15% off of any additional services. So if you need to send a cease and desist letter, if you need to respond to any letters, or if you want to file a trademark application, a copy, anything, any other services that you need, it is included. You get a 15% discount. And then the longer you're a member, the more benefits you receive. And then if you're annual, you get the additional benefits right away. So most of our members are actually annual, because on the annual plan, you immediately get a free IP audit, which is where we go in, tell you exactly what you have that can be protected with a trademark or a copyright. Then you get a free trademark search, which is required before we file any trademark applications for you. And then you get 3 trademark applications half off. So instead of the 15% discount, you get a 50% discount. And most people are just like, I just want the 50% discount. And then it's like, okay, I pay for a whole year, so I have access to you for a year plus the 50% discount on trademark. So clients love it. We love it. It's been a really great way for small business owners that would not normally have access to an attorney, and you literally have all access to us. Send us emails anytime. You get a call, you can call us once a month. So it's great. We love it. Clients love it. And the best part is it's $209 a month or $22.99 for the year. So super affordable. It's crazy. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, I went through a whole trademark stuff last year, so I wish that I knew who you were, because you would have helped me and saved me a lot of money and a lot of like heartache as well. So anybody else who's out there who's looking to do a new business, you need your trademark. We have an amazing inner transformation program that we do 3 times a year. Our next one's actually coming up in May. And a lot of the people there are in a normal job that they've maybe done for a while, but they're just not loving it. And they've got this passion project on the side. I got somebody who went off and be a music producer. Somebody went off in the last one and wanted to be a photographer. So this stuff is going to be super helpful. So when somebody's getting started with their business, what are the first couple of steps that they need to do to get in line to make sure that, one, they're doing things correctly with the government? Because especially in the USA, you don't want to mess around with the government and like stuff. So if someone's like, hey, I know what I want to do. I've got this photography business, for example, I want to set up. What are the first steps that they need to do to protect themselves and also make sure that they have a legit company?
Yeah. So the first steps is, number 1, file your LLC. Even if you're not making sales yet, you're probably building buzz on social media. You are entering into contracts, and those are things that can get you sued. So you want to be doing all of that within the name of your LLC. And then you want to at least do a trademark search. And I say at least the search. If money is not an issue, absolutely file the trademark application. But we work with a lot of super small businesses that money's an issue. And I'm like, look, I don't want you to spend your life savings on this if you have nothing else. But you want to at least do the trademark search, because the search that we do will give you the clearance that you need to move forward, knowing you're not infringing on anybody. Because the last thing that you want, which we have seen time and time again, is you launch your business, you do your own search, and you're like, oh, I searched, I'm good. Your search is not enough. And because you don't know how to find all the similarities that could cause confusion. That's where we come in. So we give you the clarity that you need to know you can move forward and not be infringing on anybody. Then when the time comes, I tell people, if you can't file the application right away, when you have that momentum and really you're not just testing the water anymore and you're like, oh, this is a thing, that's when you want to file the trademark application.
Got it. Awesome. So on a personal note, you have gone through, you left your marriage last year, going through a transition period. How are you still able to show up and run a massive business? Because I'm sure there's lots of people out there going, hang on a second, she just mentioned at the beginning, she's like going through this thing, but like she's talking all this legal jargon, like she's amazing. Like, how do you show up even when you like want to cry?
Oh my gosh. My team is freaking amazing. Last year, so like the last quarter, like October was really bad going through the divorce. And my team literally was like, they showed up for me. Like it was pure love. And I was just like, I am so thankful for you guys, because there were days like, I'm just like, I can't do this call. Like, I'm not doing this call right now. And no matter, and what sucks is like you go through this marriage, like they're your best friend, but then you're going through like the shittiest part of both of your lives, and you're trying to make it as easy as possible, but there's nothing fucking easy about a divorce. So it's just like going through that period. But luckily, like I had my amazing team. Like seriously, if it wasn't for the team, there's no way I would still be in business. I'll tell you that. But the team, and I'm very strict about when I work and when I don't work. So like I'm done with calls at 4 p.m. every day, and I like, don't call me. Like I'm typically not answering emails after that. but I won't answer my phone because we split the time with the kids. So especially if I have the kids, like I'm not talking to anybody. Like my goal is to really be present with the kids because my time is now limited with them. And so I try to be very present with them, have fun with them. But at the same time, it's like I have so much going on. So I actually caught myself a couple of months ago. I remember my son was like, "Mommy, come on, let's." I forgot who he's like, "Mommy, like play with me or do something." He's like, "Why are you always working on your phone?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, okay, no more phone." Because he would like want to like play on my phone. He's like, "I'm working on my phone, like mommy," and I'm like, "Oh no, that's cute, but it's not cute. Like, I don't want him to think like that's all I do." Um, so since then, I really try to have my sacred time with my kids. I have my sacred time for myself. And just being like at such a high level performing, you just get to the point where it's like, I have to make sure I make time for all of these things. And you just have to make time for it. And I'm finally like, oh, and a therapist, like therapy, like that's a big one too. Therapy is how I manage a lot of it. But really having boundaries and sticking to them, that's been a big thing with my therapist. Because if I say I want one thing, but I'm not showing up in that way, it's like, okay, well, I'm not being true to myself. And getting out of my marriage and really like going on this self healing and self love journey, I want to be my highest self. So I have to recognize what I want and how am I going to get there. And number one, it's being true to myself.
Mm-hmm. So many people are going to relate to that because it's like, how do you do it all? And you just have to be intentional with your time.
Yes.
And I know some people, they want to create that little, that small business, have that side hustle, but the time that they're allocated to do it, they're not doing the work. And it's like, you have to be really present when you are doing that. That's what you're doing. And you've got grit in you. You've got hard work. Like it takes hard work to build a business to $1 million. Like it's nothing easy. And I'm sure there's times where you've had to work a lot more than being with your family and your friends, but it's like, eventually you get that balance. But if you want to grow a business that's $1 million at the beginning, it's going to take every single ounce of your being to get there. And then you get there and you're like, okay, now I'm working out this like balance thing, right? It's like one thing at a time. So I appreciate you sharing that because I've got lots of mums that listen, and if they know that you've gone through a divorce, you've got 2 young kids, and you've got a massive $1 million business. I mean, like,
and I, like we were talking beforehand, like I'm down to less than like 5 client calls a day, but I would like literally this morning I was reflecting about how I used to do like 15 calls in a day. I wouldn't even schedule a lunch break. And it stemmed from like, oh, I won't have that many calls. I'll just, take time. But then like all of a sudden, like I don't like I'm on calls literally from all day from 8:30 in the morning till 5. So then it's like, okay, I want to take a step back. Okay, Andrea, you just literally have to block that time off on Calendly or your calendar. And so slowly I've been doing that. And now I only take client calls Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and from 10:30 a.m. until 4 p.m. So very limited. And I schedule my 1 hour lunch. That is my me time. And you just have to be very, like you said, very intentional. But at the beginning, like it does take grit. Like it takes hustle, it takes grit. Like whenever I first started the firm, I remember working all day, obviously, taking a couple of hours to spend time with the kids, putting them to bed, and then working some more until I went to bed. And it was like that for a very long time. And then finally I was starting to feel the burnout. I was like, okay, I want, you just have to recognize these things because eventually you get to the point where you're so big, it's like, okay, now you have to be a responsible CEO and hire and hire and delegate.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, you're remarkable. I love you, girl. And where can everybody find you? Because I know that they're going to have more questions. I want them to check out your service. So where is everything online?
Yeah, so the best place to find me is my website, andreasager.com. You can find me on Instagram at Andrea Sager Law, and then on TikTok at The Legalpreneur. I have so much fun on TikTok. So feel free to reach out there.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much. And everybody, make sure that you go and give Andrea a follow. Thank you for watching this week's episode of It Takes Grit, and we will see you next week. Bye, guys.